Morning. Sunny day today. I'm going back to an old camp location, but I didn't find it in the best of conditions last time I went there. So I don't think it's somewhere I'm going to return to. So I don't necessarily need to be covert about its location. So I thought I'd just bring you along on the walk, show you. I parked on the edge of the main road, saying that the traffic's gone quiet just at that moment. Just through the trees there, about 50 metres. I've parked in a gateway, and this bit is actually a public footpath. Straight up through there. It's a very large woodland, runs 2-3 miles in either direction. It's technically private, but there is this public footpath that runs through it, which is always a good excuse for a bit of exploring. Right, across the first bridge. Not much water running, although it has been a fairly dry few months. That's where the public footpath runs. I don't know if you can see in the distance, there's a post through there with a yellow footpath sign on. This is where we part company with the official route and got through here. As you can see by the footpath, I'm far from being the only person that walks through here. It's quite popular, being a lovely large sort of unmanaged woodland left to do its own thing, but it's right on the edge of town, so it is within access for quite a few people. So a lot of people do walk in here. There is paths like this around the outside, but there's not many paths into the middle, which is where I'm going. But the first stop, which has become a bit of a ritual really now, is here. My old friend Big Red, the big redwood fir tree. Seems daft, I know, but I always stop and say hello to him on the way through. He's a bit of a monster. I don't know how tall that is, but it's pretty big. It's one of the access roads, or tracks as it were, when it was still being used, because this was part of a very large estate at one time. There is evidence of been a bit of working in here in the past, coppicing and so on, but most of the access roads are now sort of closed down into trails really. That's where I'm going, up through there. Right, I've walked up through this section, and you can see most of it is sort of rough scrub. Most of it was coppiced at some point, but this woodland's divided up into sections, and the bit the other side of the track is nearly all pines up through that way, which I'm not particularly a fan of. I don't particularly like pine woods. They always seem a bit dead and dark, but no, so be it. It's only a patch. I need to head through there next. I'll try and go through here quietly as well, because it's quite often where I spot the local fallow deer. Well, I've heard them, not seen them. They're down there somewhere. Turn them through there. It's so bloody thick in here though. Unless you almost stumble on top of them, you're not going to see them. Well, I've stopped on the edge of the campsite. I know it's going to sound silly, but the closer I get, I can almost feel a sort of a cloud of depression coming down. It's actually just up through there. And the reason I feel like that is I've spent many a happy hour here. Not only solo, the one other person that knows of this location is a friend of mine, Robin. We come and camped here I think it was one Christmas, during a Christmas holiday. He's the only other person I've camped in here with. No one else sort of knows about this spot. But I came here about a month ago and someone else has found the location. Now, it's not my wood. I don't mind sharing, no big deal. But if you're going to come and use my camp spot especially, don't trash the place. Don't cut down a load of fresh saplings for no apparent reason and leave them strewn around the place. And don't leave your bloody rubbish everywhere. Just from the immediate camp area, I filled up a carrier bag with rubbish, empty bottles and the such like. Now, it may have been just someone passing through. It may be someone that's coming regularly. I don't know quite what I'm going to find when I get there. With any luck, it won't look any different, which will be good. If there's rubbish again, I'm never coming back. Oh, someone's been back since, but had a tidy up. I don't think it was the initial person that left all the rubbish, because whoever's tidied has done a good job. Very good job, in fact. Because about here, there was a fire reflector built that had been there a very long time. That's gone now, which is, you know, no big deal. You can always make another one if you need one. And you can see remnants of where there was a fire that side and a fire this side, depending on wind direction. There's quite a lot of evidence of cut timber kicking about, which, you know, it's fallen dead stuff. That's no big issue. Whoever come and had a tidy, some remnants of the what was left of the fire there, some unburnt wood been scattered. Okay. I've got mixed feelings now. It's tidy. It's how I would have left it. I don't think, excuse me, I don't think the person I cleared up after has come back and done this, because the rubbish was just, like I say, a carrier bag full. It was everywhere, ridiculous. Someone else has come along, probably the same sort of mindset as myself, and had a bit of a tidy up, which is nice. Thank you, whoever you were. But I still have mixed feelings. It's not my spot anymore. Yeah, shame. There is only one bit of evidence in this area that I've ever been here, and I'll show you that now. The only bit of evidence that I personally ever left of me ever being on this location. I'm not one for the whole remembrance parades and so on. If I want to sit quietly and think about people that are no longer with us, I prefer a location like this myself. Right, I think I'll just move on and have a look at some other spots in this immediate area, some that are a little bit more hidden, to see if they've been discovered. Well, this was a surprise. Yeah, very interesting. I've just come through via the back door, shall we say. I don't know quite how well you'll see if I can get. I can't really get into a location that you can see it very clearly, but there's a tall fir tree there. That's where my old camp was, sort of below that roughly. And I've cut through the thick stuff here, and I found this quite well-worn trail, which wasn't here recently. Well, not a month or so ago it wasn't. Okay. But what I found more interesting, there was a little sheltered location, and amongst these fallen oaks and so on, which I have pitched up before now, when it's been too windy for the main camp, and it was just a clearing. I'm very much a leave no trace type of person. I come around the corner and spotted this. Obviously fairly recent, because this attempt to camouflage the entrance, the leaves are dying off, but they're still hanging in there, so it's quite recently cut. It's going through the side here so we don't wreck it. After all, this is someone else's work, why would I spoil it? Yeah, I'd imagine when that was all green and all the leaves curled up, probably covered the front door quite well. More clearance work been done. Ground's been all swept to one side. It wasn't like this before. It was just pine needles when I was in here. Someone's made a little seat. They've dug the fire pit properly, which is nice to see. With all the pine needles and so on, there is always a fire risk in here, so the fact they've dug down to bare earth is a great sign that they are more responsible. It's actually a good little size, this camp, now it's been opened out. Certainly cleared a lot. I mean, beforehand I was, just in that sort of area. But they've cleared all that space there. You could get several people in here now for a day camp, and 3 or 4 for overnight. As much as I'm definitely a leave no trace sort of person, I'm not against this sort of stuff. Not when it's done properly like this. Done with some respect. Not a hint of rubbish either. Not one little sweetie paper, whatever. Now this is how it's meant to be done. Which is so ironic, seeing as my camp is about, or my old camp, straight through there, about 50 feet, where it was definitely been done wrong by someone. I must remember this spot. I'll come back and try this out at some point. Whoever made it, I hope you don't mind. I will treat it with respect. Right, I'm going to follow their path now. I'm intrigued to know whether this is the way they access in, or whether maybe it's down to collect water, because there is a stream at the bottom of this little bit of valley here. So yeah, let's have a wander down there, see what we can see. Well, this is where the path ends. Nothing exciting. It's the route to the bog. Decent distance from camp. They're doing it right. That's what we like to see. Right, I've taken a very circular and odd route away from that camp. It's basically through there. I went out through that pine there, went round in a big loop, trying not to leave any trace behind, because, you know, I don't want to mark a trail and other people walk in there that, you know, wouldn't treat it with the same respect. So I'll come around this way instead, back towards where I used to pitch up. It's a shame it's not a little bit more level here, because this would be quite a nice little spot. But it's not too much of a bank, I'm afraid. Too near the river. Well, stream. Pick my way through. This has often puzzled me. I don't know what's been going on here, and why that curious bit's been dug out like that. Can't think it's natural, no reason for it to be like that, but there you go. Loads of woodland that way, but that is going back towards that footpath. So that means people, and we don't like people. And the main reason I chose my camp spot originally, which is just through there, was this dead tree here. Let's face it, it's going to be a long time before we run out of firewood. There's tons of it. But, you know, it's not a million miles from that other camp, so yes, positives and negatives. I think I'll go down through there and go round in a loop, so I'm not covering old ground. Right, I'm back on the official footpath. No one's done anything in here for years, but since I've been here last, we can see on that tree about there-ish, some new signs are going up, and that's warning, you know, stay on the public footpath. We do vermin control in the area. In other words, don't stray off the path or we'll shoot at you. But we're back on the main path now, so we can't get into trouble. But to be honest, back where that campsite is, and I was going to find you in there anyway. Yeah, it's a nice wander round. Not far back to the car now. Well, my thoughts and conclusions from this morning. My old campsite, I'm not going to go back there again. Although somebody has tidied up nicely, the fact that it's a known location and also seeing how I found it last time. I don't want to be associated with that sort of behaviour, so it sort of soured it, shall we say. So no, not going back there. But finding that other campsite just round the corner, the more bushcrafty type one, shall we say, that is a nice location, and it's got a nice feel to it. So as soon as this whole lockdown rubbish is over and we're allowed out overnight, it's going to be a toss-up between coming back to there or one of my other favourite bivvy locations in another piece of woodland, which does actually join this, but right at the top. So two options. A lot will depend on the wind direction that day. Being on the coast, it's always an issue, but they face opposite directions. So yeah, I've got that option to always be sheltered, hopefully. All in all, I wasn't feeling brilliant when I came out. Didn't know what I was going to find. But I think it's ended on a positive note. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.